It's The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Fox Sports Radio, iHeartRadio, and FS1. You worked all last week.
Yes, it is.
So are you taking any days off this week?
No. No, I actually work Saturday again this week, too. So I work every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, America's hardest working sports journalist and opinionist, Joy Taylor. Trent Dilfer in 15 minutes stops by. So next week, so the college football playoff games are Friday.
Yes.
So we get Ohio State, Clemson. Cannot wait for that game. Cannot wait for it. And then Alabama, Notre Dame, which I can wait for that. And then this week in the NFL Sunday, all the games are on Sunday this week. So they stack them all up. Nobody's going to know who's in, who's out. So you're going to get great effort from all the teams.
We really kind of, because there's so many teams still in play, we have like a bonus playoff weekend.
That's what it feels like.
Because a lot of these games, like the winner goes in and the loser goes home.
Well, usually in sports, we have too many playoff teams. Like you watch the NBA or baseball, you're like, that's not a playoff team. In the NFL, they added a playoff team for both the AFC and the NFC, and I could argue we're shortchanging somebody. If Baltimore doesn't make the playoffs, it is the best team I've ever seen in my life not make the playoffs. Right now, they have a top 10 defense. They have a Hall of Fame coach. They're the number one rushing team. They're great on third down. In the last month, Lamar Jackson's the hottest quarterback in the league, not named Aaron Rodgers. They may not make the playoffs.
Yep.
So what does it show me? It shows me the bottom of the NFL, of all the leagues. There's about 10 teams in the NBA that are just not good. They're rebuilding. And there's baseball's maybe got 15, 12. In the NFL, the bottom is tiny. You watched the Jets yesterday. That's the second worst team in the league.
The bottom is tiny, and in any given game, you can lose to them.
Jacksonville's the worst team in the league. They faced red-hot Chicago. I think it was tied at half. I watched the first half of the game, not as much the second. But, it's the bottom of the NFL right now is tiny. The Jets are the second worst team. In the last 2 weeks, they hammered the Rams, and they beat the Browns.
You could argue it's the most competitive league.
Oh, I think by far.
Yeah.
And it's also, the NFL is also the league where, because you don't have these guaranteed contracts like other sports, you can cut anybody. So if you're bad, you can get really competitive fast.
Yeah, you can turn things around in an offseason.
You have 8 draft picks, 8 draft picks, 2 or 3 free agent signings, and boom. You can solve. Miami, the Dolphins essentially solved their defense in one offseason with Brian Flores. They solved it. Now, the offensive line's still an issue, but, you can go from 1-15 to like 7-9, 8-8 if you solve one side of the ball and you get decent quarterback play. You can't do that in any other league. So here we go. Colin right, Colin wrong on a Monday.
Where Colin was right?
I said a month ago, maybe longer than that, I said keep your eye on Seattle's defense. I think Carlos Dunlap is actually, and the return of Jamal Adams is going to solve their huge problem. They were a really good team with no pass rush. And now, arguably, first or second best pass rush in the league. Only team this year that's held the Rams without a touchdown. The defensive line, as we predicted a month ago, the young players are starting to gel. Dunlap's got 4.5 sacks in 7 games. And we kind of called this. We said, most times you have a real weakness. You can't solve it in season. But we said the Dunlap move, Jamal coming back, and there's a couple of emerging young players. We think that defensive line, they're going to figure this out in season, and they have.
Where Colin was wrong.
I only did Blazing 4 this week, and I did it on Twitter only, but I've got to own up to it. Jacksonville, Colts, Rams did me wrong. Thank God for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm 38, 39, and 2 on the year, so I need to have a winning week for a winning season. Never had a losing season ever doing Blazing 5. Cross my fingers.
Where Colin was right?
I said with Tua, I had this concern about Tua. I said, I know he's smart and he's steady and he's got the right temperament and he's accurate. I said, but I don't see a ton of special. And now he's been benched twice. And I think what worries me most of all, he's last in the league in like yards per attempt or yards per game. He's averaging, he went 3 straight 3 and out against the Raiders after half. You just can't do that. The Raiders are a bad defensive team. And I think what I see with Tua, with Joe Burrow, I see there's a certain cool, calm. He can move around. With Herbert, it's the arm. With Josh Allen, size and arm. With Lamar, it's the athletic ability. I don't see a lot of special. I just see a grown-up, accurate adult, can handle the NFL. But there is, I'm kind of waiting for the it, and I've yet to see the it.
Where Colin was wrong.
I thought Tennessee was another physical team that would walk into Lambeau and push the Packers around. And they did not. Derrick Henry was mostly corralled. A.J. Dillon, actually, it was the big Packer back that had 2 touchdowns and 124 yards. I thought they played a game I wasn't sure the Packers were capable of playing, which is, Tennessee kind of wins ugly and they're physical and a big running plays. And the biggest running play was Ryan Tannehill on a keeper. So I thought the Packers, it's not that they won, it's how they won. It was physical December football, and they were the tougher, more physical team.
Where Colin was right.
Said a month ago, watch Kansas City play. Something's not right. Last 7 games, they're giving up 25 a game. Their point differential shrinking. Their turnover differential is now negative. This is not the best team in the league right now. Remember, they were 7-4 week 11 last year, and then they got hot. But if you've watched this team for the last month, there's this sense that we have to anoint them a dynasty. They've won 1 trophy. They trailed the Niners in the fourth quarter. Patrick Mahomes has an 89 passer rating in December. They have the worst red zone defense in the NFL. And Atlanta outplayed them for most of yesterday. The Chiefs are vulnerable, and I don't care what their record is, they're not the best team in the league right now.
Where Colin was wrong.
I can't even explain the Chicago Bears. Mitch Trubisky is on fire. In the last 3 games, he's completing 71% of his throws. His quarterback rating is 108. They've scored 36, 33, and 41. And I said a month ago, I'm not sure Matt Nagy makes it through the season. Give the coaching staff credit. They have rebooted it. They're absolutely playing to Mitch Trubisky's strengths, which is short passing, move the pocket, let him roll, let him be athletic. It absolutely can win games in this league. There's a little Jalen Hurts to him where I don't think he's a great thrower, but he can make plays. He moves the chains, and if you give him the right coach, a Jalen Hurts or a Mitch Trubisky, sometimes you can struggle to get him off the field because he gets in matchups, roll in the pocket. And I thought this team was dead, buried, GM, head coach, quarterback toast, and they are right now, outside of Baltimore, maybe the hottest team in the league.
Where Colin was right.
Urban Meyer, according to various reports, NFL teams are now interested. This has been something I've been on for about a year. How come you keep hiring all these Cliff Kingsburys who had a losing record and fired in college, and Urban Meyer never gets a phone call? He's the second best college coach of my life behind Nick Saban. Super smart, high functioning, knows personnel really well, and also is an offensive kind of guru that kind of created his own way to see the world offensively. He is the NFL. Remember how good Pete Carroll was when he walked into the NFL out of college because he knew all the recruits. Urban Meyer, the first 2 or 3 drafts, if you have Urban Meyer, he's going to nail the drafts. Nobody knows college national recruiting like Urban Meyer. Finally, teams are waking up.
Where Colin was wrong.
The Dallas Cowboys. They've won 3 straight. They looked organized. I thought, I've always, Andy Dalton got way too much heat early. But since the bye, they've looked like they've been well coached. Now, their defense isn't very good, but I thought they made excellent adjustments yesterday. Jalen Hurts had a couple of nice series. After that, Philadelphia only scored 3 points. They can still make the playoffs. I don't think they can win a playoff game, but let's be honest about this. They get Dak back. They're going to be better at quarterback. Dalton will be one of the best backup quarterbacks. I still think they should move a wide receiver and get defensive help. But this morning, you can say it. They've got a little bit of an offensive identity, and it looks as though they're at least capable of making in-game adjustments, which is a start. And that not every team does that. Not every playoff team's great at that. Dallas now looks well coached.
Where Colin was right.
I said after the playoff loss for the Clippers, if you don't trade Paul George, you're going to have the same issues. He's not a franchise guy. He's just a really